Because you have a Exactly.
In fact, people expect it.
So, Atari Cops. Cauldron of Stardust, loving the teddy bear. Don't know if he likes this sort of music. Yeah. Music on just about every Jaguar game seems to be the same sort of dance techno music. Low quality, budget, you know, nothing remotely. Yeah, you're not gonna really get excited about Jaguar music on most games. That's just a talent problem there. So obviously this is doing the Mario Kart rip-off, which is what everyone says, but well, I don't really have anything to say about that. It's sort of like Street Racer on the PlayStation Saturn sort of thing. It's certainly better than Street Racer on the SNES and Mega Drive. Although the Mega Drive version don't really do this sort of Mode 7 visuals. I don't like Mario Kart. I have never liked Mario Kart. Even when the game was like 20 quid on the SNES, I refused to buy it for that sort of money. Even though I knew, you know, people would always say, have you got Mario Kart? But I would have to play Mario Kart to see the differences in handling. Now I did have Street Racer from my Sega Saturn, which was a bit of a mission. I had a Japanese Sega Saturn and I had the UK copy of the game. I don't have a copy of that game anymore. I think the cartridge port was gone a bit funny on my Japanese Saturn, so I can't use the Daytel Universal adapter, but with a bit of practice the first track is absolutely fine. This definitely reminds me of the airfield track of Street Racer on the SNES. Now Street Racer on the Sega Saturn actually is the best version. If you don't believe me, then you don't believe me, but I'm telling you because I've had both copies. Mainly because I had a PS1 that you could do the CD swap trick on, and my mate at work used to download, you know, PS1 ISOs using the Works direct connection to the internet. I think they're called T1 connections. But this track is fine as well. I mean, there's a few obstacles that stick up, and you know, when you bump into the other cars or obstacles that do stick up at strategic points, I don't know what they're doing in the middle of the track, and it kind of like bounces you back, which is annoying. It's like a difference between playing Lotus 1 and Lotus 2 on the Amiga. You know, the effect of having a collision is, it kind of pisses you off. But the track itself, you can go off the track, so that's no problem. Maybe a bit more play testing for the actual tracks. I picked these tracks because I prefer the graphics on these first two. The other cars, the ability of the other cars is fine. A map would be nice, so you could actually see where they are in relation to you on the track. And also to, you know, see the various turns that are coming up, because it's not always obvious, is it? Now this track, it's not as easy to tell the roads that are coming up. That's the first thing. You get stuck on the side of the road. It's a real shit idea to do this. And you won't get stuck like that even if you were hitting a brick wall. It's like someone didn't think about this. I don't know if it's shit coding that makes you get stuck or shit game design, and they've actually done that on purpose so you do get stuck. But that becomes a real problem with this game. And we're only on the third track now on this cut. So yeah, and they've got a little bit sticking out now, and you just get stuck on the track, which I don't like. So it's all finished now. At the end of the day, you know, they shouldn't have done the track like that. So this is a problem. That, you know, consoles like the Jaguar, the CD32, the Amstrad GX4000, not so much the C64 GS, because there were great games on the C64, they just didn't put them on a bloody cartridge you could use on a keyboardless C64 GS. The kind of people that are making the games, they're not really up to the same sort of quality of game designers that you get working on the Saturn and the PlayStation. Now that's one of the reasons why the 3DO didn't really take off. If you have a look at the games on the 3DO, they're like Amiga games. Most of them are just, yeah, and you know, they come from the you know, the school of game design that'll do. I'm going for a fag now, thank you mate, I've done my job for the day. Where's my 25th cup of coffee? You don't get that with you know, Nintendo, Sega or Sony consoles, certainly not with their biggest partners and their own software. Which is funny because Psygnosis made a load of shit games for the Amiga. So it's a myth that Psygnosis is a brilliant software publisher, because they're not. They have lax standards. Some of their games are utterly shit. But anyway, I'm supposed to be talking about the Jaguar, but yeah, see, we're on the last lap, we're in 7th place, we ain't got a hope in hell of doing it, and the frustration just kicks right straight away. You're like, well, I fucking hate this track. What cunt designed this track? What cunt decided that, you know, we're going to have these things that you get stuck on the side of the road, and then have some of them stick out as well on purpose? It's like, it's a real dumb idea. So yeah, no, it's a classic example of people are looking at the video, they haven't played the game, so they're going to be like, oh, what's wrong with it? It looks fun. Yeah. I think that's probably the difference between Mario Kart and, you know, Atari Kart. Don't get stuck on the track. So now, I'm going to be playing this football game. What's it called? Brutal Sports Football, I think it's called. Come on, hurry up! So I got another bunch of fucking English arseholes who can't make fucking games for shit, and they can't program for shit. This game is really choppy on the Amiga 500. Even though I could write a bit of compiled C that done the thing smoothly. But anyway, at least it's, actually I think there is a Amiga 1200 version of this game. And this version is very similar to the Amiga 1200 version. You know. So, now on the Amiga this game is nothing compared to Speedball 2. Nothing. It is nowhere near as polished in the gameplay department. So, yeah, the pixel art is fine, the music is rubbish as well. Speedball got decent music anyway. So basically it's American football, and you play some grunts, hideous grunts. So it's very accurate, just like in America, I suppose. And it's very difficult to kind of like pick out who you're controlling, because all the characters are like very similar in colours. But yeah, the scrolling has to catch up with your character. So the animation's fine. But this is basically an Amiga port job. I'm pretty sure this game is on the SNES. And I'll have to check to see if there's any slowdown. Or, you know, because the scrolling doesn't quite keep up with you. And there's sort of like... and there's a wobbliness to like some of the graphics going on. I don't know if that's the emulator. But the Jaguar community have said this is a very good emulator. Very accurate. And hopefully we'll be doing the CD soon. But he doesn't actually have a Jaguar CD. And he needs one, he said, to do an accurate simulation. So it's very tricky to tell what is going on. Because, like I said, the kind of like laggy scrolling puts you off a bit, and the characters, the colours are way too similar. So these are problems the Japanese game designers wouldn't have really. If you look at all the shit games on the SNES and the Mega Drive, they're done by fucking idiots in the West. It's that simple, mate. There are very few shit Japanese games. Or at least game designs. I don't think there's any particularly bad Japanese programmers. And their pixel artists are fine. And yeah, these are the kind of things where it's like people come up with an idea. I'm guessing this is a UK designed game. They're sitting on the toilet and they think, oh well, let's just do like, you know, an American football style game with some like hideous mutants, and you know, they take it on there and they jot down a few more ideas in their little fucking you know, exercise book, blah blah blah, but they haven't really got the skills and the knowledge to make the best of their idea. And again, the music is very forgettable. There doesn't seem to be any talented musicians ever to work on the Jaguar. I've played quite a few games now, and I'm just getting fed up with this kind of like pound shop quality dance music. I'm pretty sure the Jaguar has sample based playback, because Zool 2, the mod tunes are exactly the same as on the Amiga, the disc version, not the shitty Zool 2 CD32 soundtrack, which is also shit because of the synthesizers they used to make them tracks. But yeah, what can you say? My eyes don't like the laggy scrolling, and it's hard to tell. You know, there's loads of characters that kind of like overlap each other, and they're very similar in colour. They're, you know, there's a subtle difference, and yeah, look, the buildings and the pitch, they jerk about at different speeds. It's a bit of a shit show. I think there was a sequel to this game actually. I have to check that, but not on the Jaguar. This is the only version that's on the Jaguar. So now you got to remember, this game was like 50 quid, and the Jaguar cost more than the SNES. Certainly when they were trying to like save the company after cancelling the, you know, the Falcon. I mean, this might actually be identical to the CD32 version. I really can't be bothered to check because I don't like the game. But yeah, it's no... Once again, we've got the situation where you're like, you're better off sticking with your Amiga 1000 from 1986 if you're in, you know, Europe. Ah, great, US gold. Right, so this is Fever Pitch Soccer, I believe. Yes, that's what it's called. And I don't know if it come out on any other system, but if you press the wrong button on the menu here, it goes into like an auto demonstration mode, and you don't notice. You're like, hang on, don't I get to pick my team? And then it's like, hang on, which one am I controlling? And like, hang on, is this like bloody Football Manager, where you don't actually get to control the players and play the game? So that's the thing. And so when you finally work out what button you're supposed to press, they don't tell you or anything. It's not like you can have a cracked copy of this game. I don't know if this game ever came out on anything else, but it's typical US gold. These are like stupid things that, you know, the Japanese would have weeded out. So yeah, basically, if you're buying a console and it's made by a company in the West, yeah, most of the games are going to be shit, because most of the people making games for it are going to be from the West, which is why the 3DO failed, basically. So you have to start like playing on this thing, and I don't like this background. It's like, why does the grass have to be yellow? I think that's, you know, they actually use all those billions of dollars that they make from the oil that they sell to the rest of the world to water their pitches anyway, so it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, you got to kind of get used to the way this game plays. You can't change, well, maybe you can change like the player you control, but it's not obvious. I tried pressing the A, B and C button. And playing this on the emulator with the PC keyboard is not really going to be any worse than using a real Jaguar controller, because they're shit. It's like holding a bag of potatoes in your hand with a couple of fucking fruit gums for the buttons here and there. And yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Jaguar's got a shit controller. It's very badly designed. That's another reason why I didn't buy it. You know, we're talking ColecoVision levels of fucking barrier to enjoyment of the game on the system. Your goalie is very good. That is a good thing. And the players do seem to find each other when they pass blindly forward. It scrolls quite fast. The game does actually run quite fast. Everything is there. It's just, it's never going to replace, you know, Winning 11, J-League, International Superstar Soccer, you know, on the SNES and the Mega Drive. Those games are much better. So once again, you've got like, well, why did I buy a Jaguar then? Well, I don't know why you bought a Jaguar, mate. I don't actually know anyone who bought a Jaguar in the shops. My mate got a whole load of them that fell off the back of a courier lorry. Yeah, that's another thing, because he was trying to sell them to us. But yeah, I don't know actually, it's a bit of a tough one. And the replays do get annoying because you can't skip them. You can fast forward them, but you can't completely skip them, and that should be an option you set anyway. Maybe you can, but the menus are so badly designed. I was just happy that you could actually get to play a fucking game in the first place. There you go. Do I really need to say anymore? I mean, the sound effects are absolutely fine. Trying to hold back the sneeze there, not holding back the ears or whatever that Simply Red shitty song was, but Yeah, we did actually manage to score a goal, so it is possible. Now, there is actually sensible soccer on the Jaguar, and why anyone would want Amstrad CPC fucking shit titchy little graphics that are inferior to the tiny little rocket men and scientists on the C64 game Risk, Rapid, Intercept, Seek, Kill rapidly, intercept and seek, also sold as Chris. I've never seen it sold as that. But then I used to buy the good games as soon as they come out anyway. It was so easy. There was loads of shops that sold computer games, even in 1988. There was the big shops, you know, Woolworths, Tesco's, Boots, and there was also 2 record shops and an independent electronics shop and electrical shop as well, as in Rumbelows. And that was within, you know, a 10-minute walk from my house in the shopping centre. But yeah, this is, once you get used to the way it plays, it is quite playable, but again, you know, you're basically making up for the fact that you made a bad choice in buying a console. This console, the Atari Jaguar. I was going to say a console from Atari, but you just get upset if I say that. But yeah, I think the last decent console Atari made, excluding the Lynx, because that's like a handheld gaming system, I don't count that as a console. It's probably the VCS. I'm going to be controversial there and just say that's just how it is, mate. So it's alright. You know, it's not a shit game or anything like that. The graphics are fine. Menu systems are a bit idiotic, but they're idiotic on Emlyn Hughes International Soccer as well. I'm not going to be rude and say, oh, this is worse than International Soccer on the C64, because it isn't. I don't think it is. If you've ever tried to play International Soccer on the C64 at maximum difficulty, you'll get frustrated very quickly. That's when it all falls apart. Yeah, if you play it on level 1, it's alright. And somewhere between level 1 and level 8, it's, you know, you get the idea there. But we did give this a fair old go, I must admit. So it's not that bad, but the reality is, if you like footy games like this, then really you probably should have got a SNES, and not the first FIFA game, the second one on there. But even better, International Superstar Soccer. So that's really the reality of the situation. So all these extra guff things like here, they don't really interest me. I'm not really that bothered. Hang on a minute. I think they're collecting the fucking dustbins at last, but I can't hear the truck. Back in a second. Yeah, they actually put the bins back in front of my house instead of fucking 20 foot up the road, so that's a good thing. Right, so now I did notice with this game, it went into extra time, and it went into extra time again, and I was like, I just want to see if you get penalties, you know, because I'm not being rude, but if I'm playing something on an emulator, then I can pretty much play any system I want. So I wouldn't really come back and say, ooh, I fancy a Garfield picture soccer on the Jaguar emulator. I wouldn't do that. I would just plug in my SNES gamepad replica USB controller and play, you know, International Superstar Soccer, or ditto with Winning 11 using the Mega Drive 6-button official joypad knockoff USB controller. So I don't think you can buy a Jaguar, a replica Jaguar controller, you know, like a USB controller. I don't think you can. I think this emulator defaults to the Xbox 360 wired controller. I do actually have one of them, and that is a great controller. But that's not really how you would have played these games anyway. That's the point. To get the real experience, you need to be using the correct controller. Which is why, you know, if I play C64 games, I try to use a Point Master, a Quickshot Turbo, or a Zip Stick, or a Competition Pro, which I don't like anymore. So yeah, here we go, extra time again. And was like, yeah, you know, I can't remember if I'm playing Brazil. There doesn't really seem to be any difference between whether you're Brazil and the other team is, in this case, Kuwait, which I presume is not a very good football team in the World Cup scenario. So, but I guess most of them are like that. You know, what team you pick is really cosmetic. It doesn't really affect the difficulty. So yeah, now they've scored, so we're not going to get to find out. And I think they score again. I was getting pissed off with all the extra time. Maybe all footy games are like that, but and at one point before it went into extra time, there must have been like other like extra time within the second half and stuff like that. So you know, that really pissed me off, because I'm like, hurry up. I want it to end at 2-2 to see if you know, you get like penalties to decide. Which knowing US Gold you might not do, but I don't know. US Gold release any old shit. Their early games were good on the C64 simply because they didn't make the games, they just imported them from superior game design. So I didn't continue, as you can imagine. Let's go. This one's called Hyperforce. It's kind of like Turrican with 1982 ethos of making C64 games, where the graphics are just too fucking big for the screen. And you know, controls are a bit iffy. Kind of reminds me of Sacred Armour of Antiriad when you're in the suit. They're not quite as bad as you know, when you're playing the Neanderthal or whatever. That's proper Dark Castle level of shit control on Antiriad until you get in the suit, which is why I don't like that game. I don't see a point in a game being difficult because the controls are shit. That's just bad game design. But hey, C64 games were between 2 and 10 quid on tape. So, well, actually 15 if you include Elite by Firebird. That's a one-off. So we're on level 2 already, and the graphics look exactly the same, which I don't like. I'll point out the whole arcade adventure turrican type business, I don't actually like that shit. You know, that's not really my kind of game. I'm not saying the game is shit, I'm just saying I don't like that kind of shit. So, you know, when I downloaded Turrican 2 for the SD-to-IC on the C64, I had to make sure that it had a level scheme, not just that it worked. Because I was never going to play the platform bits, I just wanted to test out the shoot 'em up section of Turrican 2, and I don't believe this had a shoot 'em up section. So, now luckily, certainly the things that you've collected go back, but there's a lot of jumping going on, and this is a typical thing with like a Western designed game. You know, you've got a game that requires a lot of jumping, and yet the jump controls are a bit iffy because of the way it does it. You don't really sort of jump, you press the, I think it's the A button to fire a burst from your rocket pack sort of thing. So there's that. Now shooting these little things is laborious and also very awkward because of the control. So again, so I was just like, yeah, get on with it, mate. Show me some different graphics. And here we are again. It looks exactly the same. There is parallax going on, but you can hardly see the parallax background most of the time. So, great, you've got holes in the floor now, so you're going to be punished even more now. Punished for their shit game control programming non-skills, as I like to call them. And this level is the first one which it sort of reminds me of like the Turrican games, where you can actually get lost. You have to find the correct path. So maybe this is an alright game if before getting a Jaguar you had like a, I don't know, ZX Spectrum or something. Only because games like this on the ZX Spectrum are just as awkward to play. Which is funny because mate of mine who's a platform game was very, very playable with arcade quality jump controls. Very easy to play. So, you know, it is kind of annoying on many levels. I find this game extremely annoying. So, graphics are okay in a sort of Western pixel art sort of way. They're not bad or anything. They're big and bold, but they're too big, like the 1982 Commodore 64 game with massive fucking 24 by 21 pixel Galaxian sprites, which is never going to work. Yeah, they don't really think about the game. That's not to say I want sensible soccer size fucking tiny little, you know, Amstrad CPC little character blocks. Yes, I know the Amstrad don't have a character screen. Don't bother, mate. Thumb it down if you don't agree, whatever, but I know my shit. So yeah, I was just like, I don't really care about this game anymore. Please, just fucking, I want to see different graphics. And maybe the entire game is like it. And that's the problem. Kind of feels claustrophobic. And there's so much stuff to pick up as well, you can barely see the stuff. And now you've got a dead end, and I'm like, fuck you. I've fucking had enough of this game. And I'm like, thank God for that, it's over. Next! Right, this is the other game I played on the Jaguar. The Jaguars that fell off the back of the Omega security courier van that my mate was trying to sell. I can't remember how much he wanted for them. I think he wanted 100 quid for them, and I'm like, yeah, you what, mate? Jaguar did have a reputation for having shit games. I mean, yeah, it's not really the hardware's fault. So this game is like Mille Miglia, the arcade game. It's not done anywhere near as well as that. For a start, on Mille Miglia, you get your choice of like fast, well-handling, you know, sports cars. As soon as you put your 50p piece in, no such luck here, mate. Some idiot decided you're basically going to have to start with a shit car that's too slow, has horrendous turning and front wheel drive. Great. That's exactly what I want to do a rally in. So the graphics are okay. I don't really have a problem with the graphics as such. The car's a bit shit. But I do believe there is an AGA version of this game. I can't remember if this is... There's two games like this on the Amiga. I can't remember if Power Drive is the better or the worse of the two. But anyway, the problem with this game is, and this is typical for Western games designers, is the handling of the car is shit. Now this is something that happens all the time. So you play Vroom, V-R-O-O-M, that game, you know, the French Formula 1 game, on the ST and Amiga, and it's like, yeah, great routine, but the car's all handled like a fucking family hatchback from the 1960s. Great. So Vroom is a shit game, but Domark fixed that when they took the engine and put some decent Formula 1 car style handling. Now rally cars do four-wheel drifts. They slide about and things like that, and none of that is going on. You feel like you're driving a shitty 1.2 litre fucking Euro shit box, as I like to call them. You know, things like the Fiat Cinquecento, Vauxhall Corsa, all that kind of shit that I wouldn't fucking piss on, mate. And you're like, why? Why would anyone want to fucking have a driving game like that? Like I said, if you play Mille Miglia in the arcade, as soon as you put your money in, you can have a Ferrari 250 GT, Aston Martin, and they all slide about in the same way that you'd expect rally cars to slide about. So, and they've added some money element here. So you start with a shit car, money element. If you've got a shit handling car, the graphics are okay. They're not spectacular, even though they could replicate Mille Miglia, but that was never converted to any home system. Oh, that reminds me, I wonder if you can do Mille Miglia on the Scorpion engine for Amiga. It does support the AGA chipset, so there's enough colours. Yeah, I don't want to talk about this game anymore. Why did you keep playing it for so long? I don't know. It's so awkward to play these games, because I have to play these games in you know, a window on the desktop mode, not full screen. Otherwise the screen capture will not actually record. It just records like a static image, so that's a problem. So I prefer to play the game first. So yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know why you've got see-through like clouds underneath. What is this, fucking Avatar 3? You know what I mean? It's like, these are the floating rocks, are they? And someone's brought a couple of fucking shit cars to the forest moon of Pandora. What's going on there? There you go, look, see, there's like a Windows 95 repeating tile cloud background going on underneath. Why? I'd understand if it was like a water effect pattern, but it's not. It's clearly, I don't understand that, and that's just, oh right, and that's the other thing, when you do touch the sides, ooh, madam, you get stuck. There you go. And that's basically why this is shit, and Mille Miglia is one of the best games in the world. Because basically Westerners can't make decent fucking games most of the time. Certainly not arcade games. Yeah. Famously, Madcommodore used to be in the school basketball team, and he used to be over 6 foot tall when he was like 15 years old. Blah blah blah. I've heard that all before, right? So I was like, okay, what's this going to be like? NBA Jam, blah blah blah. Because when this came out, he could have played like some basketball game on the PS1. I'm pretty sure there was an early basketball game on it. So yeah, you know, rubbish graphics, blah blah blah. Someone been pissing about with a fucking Video Amiga 24, blah blah blah. Nothing wrong with that. And here we go, this is a game. It's a bit like that shitty basketball game on the old 8-bit computers, One on One by Electronic Arts. It's fucking horrible. You can't tell what's going on. It's such a shit camera angle. It's not proper basketball. This is vastly inferior to playing international basketball by Commodore for, I believe it was £6.99 on tape. In 1984 or 85, I can't remember what year that come out. And this is shit. Why? Why would you want a fucking update of One on One with some public domain quality texture map 3D with some clip art houses in the back? That's a fucking shit. Next! Now, I'm going to be a bit controversial here and say when this Zool 2 for the Jaguar was out, you could have also got Zool 2 for the CD32. I'm talking about consoles now. The Amiga 1200 was not a console. So, the interesting thing is on the CD32, they've got different music, and by different I mean utterly shit music made on cheap FM synthesizers. They're not expensive FM synthesizers, and they're not being made by any kind of talented synth player who knows how to, you know, do their own patches and things like that to make decent sounds out of what cheap hardware they've been given. Whereas like the Amiga 1200 version has really nice music. The floppy disk version of Zool 2. So I don't like Zool 2 on the CD32. It's got shit music. But luckily this version does have the mod tune music from the disc version of the Amiga game. So it's better than the CD32 version. Costs 20 quid more, but it's better. So you have to decide, is it worth 20 quid more? Now I find the controls a bit funny on this, because you can press up to jump on the D-pad, but at the same time one of the buttons on the controllers also will make you jump. That's really weird. It's like, just fucking pick one already, or let me choose what one I want to use in the options. So you end up jumping when you don't want to, because you get used to pressing the one of the fire buttons to jump instead. And I find the inertia highly annoying. It seems worse than playing it on the Amiga 1200, maybe because the game is running faster, so it's easier to like fall off stuff, and I don't know. Now, unlike the Amiga version, you do actually get the music and sound effects, so again, whether that's worth 20 quid more, whatever, than playing it on your Amiga 1200. I do believe Zool 2 also come out for the regular Amiga 500 because I seem to remember playing it on my Amiga 1000, which had 1 megabyte, so that's not a problem. So yeah, that's the thing. Now what I don't like about Zork 2 as a game, it doesn't matter what system you buy it for, is you have to collect almost all of those suites, and because it's so slippy, it's so easy to fall off the platforms, that it's really annoying trying to get all this stuff that you have to collect, and you have to collect a hell of a lot. So I don't like that, and you get a hell of a lot of lives. I said it before and I say it again, if you get too many lives it's because the game design is shit. They haven't fucking designed the game properly, so they end up giving you like 6 lives or something stupid like that. You get 3 lives on Manic Miner because it's designed properly. The levels and everything is perfect for that kind of genre. This is not the best scrolling platformer game ever. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a Super Mario World fan or a Sonic fan or anything like that, but again we got the situation, a 1990 Mega Drive game, Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, is much better than this. 1990, this is like half a decade later and I'm playing worse games. Yeah, maybe it's got more colours on the screen, and maybe the music's better on the Jaguar sound chip than the horrendously shit sound chip the Mega Drive has, but that's neither here nor there. The actual game has lovely graphics, it's got parallax, as is correct for a console game. Take note, Mr. CD32, and your fucking parallax devoid catalogue of games mostly. So yeah, that's really what this comes down to. I would rather, if I had a choice, let's say I've got 2 TVs, got this plugged into a Jaguar on one TV and Castle of Illusion on a Mark 1 Mega Drive with high definition graphics and stereo sound, the original Mark 1, not just the Mark 1 case, the original Mark 1 motherboards. And yeah, I'd rather play that than this, and that's really what it comes down to, because that game is not annoying. So yeah, once again, now obviously Disney is not a Japanese company, but I'm sure Sega had some involvement in the game design of Castle of Illusion. Even so, it don't really matter. I mean, there are going to be exceptions to the rule. Not every single Western game designer is, going to be shit. But here, you've got a problem. I'm trying to get back there, and look how much effort it's taking. And it doesn't take that much effort on the Amiga version. I think I played the regular 32 colour Amiga version of Zork 2. I think I was playing it on my Amiga 1000. I don't think I bought the AGA version for the 1200. Well, I didn't buy fuck all actually. Because like I said, once you've played superior games and you get your Amiga games on crack discs, you're not going to think, well, let me just buy that, help the developer out. No. If you can't make a game as good as Castle of Illusion, then I'm not going to buy your game, mate. And I'll just use the disc to play the music. Well, it's a weird game. Yeah, this is called 05, and yeah, this is a classic example of fucking Westerners can't make decent games. So Jaguar has got as much polygon pushing power, although I'm not sure how it does it, because it only has a 68,000 CPU. As you know, the Super FX chip, and yet look at this shit. It's like, look at them graphics. They're like fucking those VIC-20 games where the graphics are so massive you can't actually fucking avoid anything. Everything is so close together. It's like Solar Software's Galaxian knockoff on the C64 using massive sprites. That's not what you want, mate. There doesn't seem much to this game. It's like, well, the enemies all look the fucking same. The graphics look like, you know, a 1987 Amiga demo. Obviously running on a 68040 or something, but you know what I'm talking about. There's nothing great about the graphics. They're just flat shaded solid polygons. Yes, they're fast, but it's just you. And for some reason then the camera angle changes. I didn't do that. So now you have to kind of like fly towards yourself. So I know Zarch and Virus is not the same game in terms of gameplay, but it's a classic example. You've got a very fast flat shaded polygon game and you've got stuff to shoot and bugger all else really, and everything looks the same that you're shooting. Very boring, no indication. And yet, you know, if you've played Zarch on the Archimedes or Virus on the Amiga 1200 or Mega STE in 16 MHz mode, that's a better game. And we're going back to the previous decade. So once again, it's like, why did I buy a fucking Jaguar? Why did I buy a fucking Jaguar, mate? Because you're an idiot, basically. I'm going to get fucking mullered on the Atari forums if they find out I'm making this video. The Jaguar people are like, oh man, they're like the most intense of fanboys, and they're really, a lot of them are really obnoxious and obtuse, very difficult people to get on with. If you thought the Atari 8-bit people were difficult to get on with, you ain't met the Jaguar group, mate. As soon as you mention that you're using an emulator, the first thing that people say to you is like, did you donate with PayPal to the author? I've only just downloaded it, mate, like an hour ago. Give me a fucking chance. And if all the games on the Jaguar turn out to be shit, then I'm not going to be using the emulator again after this. And none of you fucking people on this specific forum watch my YouTube channel anyway, so you can all fuck off anyway. If that's the only reason why I downloaded the emulator and now I'm going to delete it, I don't need to give anything to anyone, mate. Now the reason I won't give anything to anyone is because I can't go to the bank because of fucking COVID. This game is like a fucking COVID infection. Shit! Don't want, do not want. So this is Total Carnage, which I do believe is an arcade game. Is it Midway? Yeah, they don't look like fucking, you know, thousands of colours on screen. This looks like a fucking... this looks like a fucking British Amiga game with some fucking talentless cocksucker doing the 32 colour artwork on the Amiga. Why am I so harsh on pixel artists doing shit work? Well, because you don't know this, I actually sent in my awesome graphics. Some went to computer and video games. I think one of them did get published. The Afterburner mock-up in Deluxe Paint. But I also sent some stuff off to software companies, and they're like, well, we're not doing this game, so yeah. I'm like, whether you're doing Salamander or not doesn't matter. I've sent you some 16 colour ST, like, you know, graphics, and you're like, well, anyway, this game looks shit. It's like Graphically it's like New York Warriors, and it's even more horrible to play. Next! Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I do believe this is actually on the SNES, and it's more or less identical but not as fast. So identical graphics. I don't know about the sound. Never had this game. The only fighting games I had on the SNES were basically Street Fighter 2, which I got with the console. That's the only reason I bought it. And Mortal Kombat 2, I think, because they put the blood back in. I didn't really have any other fighting games. So I mean, there's a lot of weird. There's no dithering at all. It's like an artist who's allergic to dithering has done the floor there. That don't really work. If you can't get enough colours on the screen to make that like a smooth. It's like the old, you know, really badly compressed AVI movies, where you get like this weird sort of like concentric rings of different colours, where it should be like a smooth shade. Balls! But the game isn't balls, it actually plays okay. It is quite difficult, I would say, but it's kind of like if you took SNES technology, you know, that sort of graphical sophistication, not the shit CPU in the SNES, and you fuse that together with sort of like 8-bit karate game design, like in International Karate, not even IK Plus. That's kind of what's going on here. You know, you just don't get that modern fighting game feeling. I certainly don't. It's not really any different to playing Shadow Fighter or Elfmania on your Amiga 1000. Now in this case, even if they had done better graphics than the SNES version, which I do believe it's on, it wouldn't have made any difference to the game. The game would have turned out the same. To be honest, I'd rather watch the movie than actually play this game on any system, and that's a problem. If I want to play a fighting game, and if it has to be this sort of you know, two-dimensional bullshit, there probably would be Street Fighter 2. And Street Fighter 2 never came out for the Jaguar, and this is a problem you will always have. It's like that Super Burnout game. It doesn't matter if the hardware is clearly capable of doing a Sega Saturn, you know, quality conversion of Chase HQ, if Chase HQ doesn't come out for your console. It's a slightly different situation with the Amiga, where we did get all the arcade conversions, you know, when the Amiga was relevant, but they were all shit, unless you're talking about stuff like Bubble Bobble or fucking Rainbow Islands, which you can probably write in fucking Scorpion Engine anyway better than what was released. So that don't really interest me. You know, Outrun, Chase HQ. But this is more like the situation of, you know, there was no Gradius, there was no Salamander, there was no Vulcan Venture on the Amiga ever converted. So that's really what it's like having a Jaguar. You have to play this shit instead of playing Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition on the Mega Drive, which is a far superior game and looks almost as good as this. So yeah, you're back to the old question. Why did I buy an Atari Jaguar? Why? It's a complete waste of money. It's not like, you know, the Jaguar cost the same as the Mega Drive. It's not like it came out before the Mega Drive. You know, like the case with the 3DO came out before the PlayStation 1, so there is an argument. Although I think by the time Need for Speed on the 3DO came out, the PlayStation 1 was already out. Let go! Right, this is Defender 2000, which actually comes with 3 games: the original Defender, a mildly psychedelically updated version of the original, and Jeff Minter's interpretation. I'm going to be playing classic Defender here. So, now I actually love Defender on my VCS, and I ain't got a problem with the arcade game as such. I just don't like the controls on the arcade cabinet. But, you know, it is actually a phenomenal game. I'm not going to start, you know, sucking Eugene Evans' cock. Or is it Eugene Jarvis? You know, the guy who invented the Defender. But it is a very cool early arcade game. It is right up there with other games I like. I just don't like the way you have to press a separate button for thrust and reverse, and the joystick only goes up and down. Now this version is an exceptional version of the original, was it 1980 or 81 arcade game? Doesn't actually say here. I'm not very good at it, but then I am playing it on you know, the PC keyboard. Now if the cursor keys on the PC keyboard were a bit better, you know, so they're not very good. I mean, the up and down key is half the size of the left and right keys, and they're all they're like a bit like the shitty Spectrum cursor keys. But anyway, we'll get into the old rivalries right now. But yeah, it's brilliant. The sound is spot on, and everything is spot on. But who the fuck wanted to play Defender 1.5 decades later on the £200 games console as part of a £50 cartridge? This is the sort of thing where it's like, you know, if you send off a couple of quid to a PD library and they send you back something like this for the Amiga, yes, that is cool, that is absolutely fine. Maybe even 3 quid. And I understand this is a freebie that really comes with a game, but this is the best game on the cartridge, and that's a fact. So, you know, the problem is Jeff Minter, he made some horrendous 16 and 32 and 64-bit games. That's just the reality of it. The guy actually peaked with Attack of the Mutant Camels on the old Atari 800.
Kasumi Ninja!
Kasumi Ninja! With a fake Asian accent. Yeah, I thought I'd check this out because, you know, this game is infamous. The background sky looks fine and everything, and but it is standard low resolution graphics. You know, I don't know if there's any Jaguar games that actually run in the equivalent of Amiga high-res interlace full overscan. Certainly Raiden isn't one of them. But anyway,
Select your fighter.
Jaguar character select. Very awkward, very jerky. Yeah, I did play Doom. Don't worry, that's the last game in the videos here. Yeah, because I ended up playing it longer than the others, so it has to go last. So I haven't got that much to say about Doom.
Select your opponent. Jackie.
But yeah, this is basically a pound shop version of Mortal Kombat, where they've kind of focused on the wrong aspects. But you know, technically it proves that you can do Mortal Kombat on the old Jaguar. Problem is no one did Mortal Kombat on the Jaguar, so you're a bit fucked there really. Would I rather play this instead of Mortal Kombat? No. So there you go, that's your problem. This is always a problem with Western consoles that don't have good Japanese arcade ports or American arcade ports. If it's made up of mostly original, and I use that word guardedly, you know, Western developed games, they're usually shit. Even if they get the coding right, there's something wrong with it. And I'm going to be quite brutally honest, and as far as computer console game musicians go, you've got the SID right here at the top. I'm talking about the composers, I'm not talking about the technicalities. Then you've got the Amiga, because they mostly use shit samples, but when you get to things like the Jaguar, there's no talent really going on there.
5,
This game is very boring, like international karate sort of 8-bit game. So I'm playing Ultra Vortex now, which is apparently the best beat 'em up on the Jaguar. Well, bitmap based anyway. Not like you've got a lot of options. So I've got the scan lines on here, so hopefully they're coming out alright. I was just checking out the things that come with the emulator. Absolutely fine. Obviously I picked the female character. That's just how it is if you're a fat balding old guy who plays retro games. So they could have done a different palette for the reflections in the floor. That don't really work for me. It doesn't play quite as good as Street Fighter 2, which plays a little bit better than Mortal Kombat. Certainly the first one. But it's nowhere near as bad as Kasumi Ninja. The graphics are more appealing and arcadey. The character graphics are absolutely fine. Especially the digitised woman, which is why I picked it. Because if you're looking at, you know, Mortal Kombat knockoffs, you really want to see how many frames of animation and how good the digitisation of the real people doing the moves is. So the old way of the exploding fist, sweeping man, still works a treat. So you know, I can't remember if that works on Street Fighter 2 on my SNES when I had it. But basically the story of the Atari is basically that it was excluded from the party most of the time. Yeah, there's no Outrun, there's no Turbo Outrun, there's no Gradius, there's no Salamander, no Vulcan Venture, no R-Type, no Mortal Kombat, no Street Fighter 2. There is a Double Dragon game, but it's basically a rubbish beat 'em up like this. A bit like Golden Axe the Duel for the Saturn. Although the Saturn does have another game, I think it's called Guardian Heroes, which is a bit like Golden Axe, but I prefer Golden Axe myself. So going with the old Mercury man, innit? Fulminated Mercury? No, don't blow up when you hit him. Yes, I am watching Breaking Bad at the moment. But yeah, anyway. The time-lapse clouds in the background, if they'd done them a quarter of that speed, it would actually be more impressive. But that's just the way Western game developers are. They're like, oh look, we can do it this fast, let's do it. Less is more, sir. So yeah, you know, again, it's not quite as bad as you know, other situations. It's an alright beat 'em up. It's not bad. But then again, you have to say, it's going to cost you as much as Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition on the Mega Drive a few years earlier. And it's not better. Like I said, the Jaguar was excluded from the party, sir. And that's just a fact. So, whilst this game is absolutely fine, is it fine for 1995 at 50 or 60 quid, whatever it costs, when you've already played and got bored with Mortal Kombat 2 and Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition on the Mega Drive? Mortal Kombat 2 on the SNES has the blood. So Jaguar controllers are even worse than the SNES controllers. And the Sega 6-button game pads, they have an excellent D-pad on them, and the buttons are excellent too. So, you know, it is what it is really. Bubsy the Bobcat. This game is on the SNES. It's been ported to the Jaguar, and you wish it wasn't. It's a shit game. Obviously the AVGN, who tries to be as good as me, but fails miserably lately. What a shit Christmas episode he had. He does fuck all at the moment, and yet he gets like, 3 million views on his shit videos these days. Anyway. There's nothing here that Paul Howarth and Martin Edmondson couldn't have done on the Amiga 1200 if they were bothered to, which they never were. I don't think they programmed anything on the Amiga 1200, so graphically it's no better than the SNES version, and you won't buy it on the SNES anyway. It's not cheaper than the SNES version, so for example, if this came out on the CD32 for 25 quid on the CD, at least you could argue, well, it might be the same crappy game, but at least it's half the price. But then the CD32 cost as much as a brand new Mega Drive, a brand new SNES, both bundled with a game, probably Sonic 2 and Mario World if you want to get the cheapest bundles, and a used PC engine as well. So the CD32 is another shit console, but that's shit for a different reason. In fact, for the price of a Jaguar in 1993, you're only saving 30 quid on buying a SNES and a Mega Drive. That is a real idiocy of the situation. So, again, we're in exactly the same situation. Why the fuck did I buy a Jaguar? Well, I never bought a Jaguar. It's really an open question to people who did. Is it like the people who bought a CD32 just because it was made by Commodore and it was the Amiga chipset in there? Oh, that bit where those Tweedledum and Tweedledee keep hitting you, that's fucking infuriating. And look how many lives you get. Like I said, that's a 100% sign of a shit game. Oh, the game is unplayable with 3 lives. Let's fix the game. No, just give them 10 lives. Exactly. Welcome to the, the art of Western games development in general. There are some good Western games, developed games, for the home computers especially. Lotus 2 is brilliant. It's basically a 2.5D rally game. If Sega Rally was running on the Outrun hardware, it's basically going to be Lotus 2 with different car graphics. So now we're going to check out Defender 2000. I thought I'd give you a break from Defender. I didn't want to do them one back to back. Jeff Minter did a game for the Falcon called Llama Zap, which is very similar to this. Graphics are too big. I think the scrolling is alright, that's the screen capture issue. Lightcam HD will not register anymore because, well, that version is not supported anymore, and I don't know, I have to ghost the image on the old Madcommodore 1 PC to copy that install with all the registered apps onto a new hard drive at some point. But yeah, I mean, the graphics of your spaceship are a bit shit. The graphics of the landers are a bit, Star Ray from half a decade earlier. In fact, Star Ray looks better. I'm going to be honest here. The sound effects are nowhere near as awesome as the original Defender arcade game, which is a fucking joke, basically. And it's got some shit dance music, as usual, with the old Llamasoft games. I don't know what's going on with Llamasoft games. They all got this pound shop quality dance tunes. I think Tempest 2000 is the only one that hasn't. Some of the tracks on there are not bad at all, but this is not one of those games. So again, 50 quid, basically for a shit update to Defender, and a classic version as well. You're not going to buy it. I knew that Donkey Kong on the C64 by Ocean Software for 10 quid was a phenomenal port, but I never bought it. Anyway, Checkered Flag. So the Saturn got Virtua Racing, which is wholly unimpressive for the Saturn hardware, and why I didn't buy a Saturn when it first came out, along with a wholly unimpressive Virtua Fighter 1 graphics. But you don't get, Virtua Racing. I mean, this game proves they could have done Virtua Racing, but they obviously haven't got the game development talent to do it, so that's a problem. It's not super smooth. There's no texturing going on the polygons. But basically it's a bit like Vroom, VR00M. On the ST and the Amiga versus Domark's Formula 1. The problem is the handling of the cars. And the way, as soon as you touch the side of the track you just stop, more or less. It's not great. You can't really get into the groove. You have got different views, but really you want the furthest one away like this, so you can see as much of the track as possible, the badly designed track. So the problem with this game is the handling of your car is shit. It's like a 1950s piece of shit classic car. And the tracks, some of them are not great, and the way they've done the collision is really shit as well. So basically, once again, although the hardware probably could do a reasonable version of Virtua Racing, certainly up to the 32X stand. I mean, look at that, what's going on here? You can't get Virtua Racing for the Jaguar, so again, Jaguar has been excluded from the party there, the party of fucking having enjoyable games to play at home. So if I bought this game for 50 quid, I'd be like, what the fuck is this piece of shit? I'd rather play Lotus 2 on the ST. Got nothing against Atari, but let's discontinue the Falcon and go all guns blazing with the old Jaguar. That was a really dumb idea, and that was nothing to do with Jack Trammell. Jack left the business of running Atari to his sons, and they fucked it up. I'm not saying the Falcon is the best home computer in the world, and the games were shit on there, which is why I'll never buy one, but yeah, so it tells you you're going to pits, and it's like, well, nothing's happening in the pits. It's not like F1 GP. No one comes out and does your car or anything. I think they do that on Virtua Racing as well. So on the basis of this game, there's no way the Jaguar could do anything like the piss poor PAL release of Daytona, the first one on the Saturn, which is why Daytona USA didn't come out for the Sega 32X, but it's just not possible. And I did play this game quite a bit though, so at the end of the day, and because you crash so often because of the shit handling of the car, you can't really drive it. Like, the people that are writing these driving games, they haven't got a clue about what's enjoyable about driving a sports car. I actually had a sports car when I was 21 years old, mate. It was a late 1980s BMW 325i SE special equipment. Yeah, so I know all about what a proper sports car should handle like, and I'm not saying any computer game ever replicates that. Probably before PS2, so the WRC games, specifically WRC 4, and even then it's not the same thing. But this is nothing like it. This is like driving a Vauxhall Corsa on a racetrack with fucking Velcro on the Armco barriers everywhere and on your bumpers. So it's not brilliant. Like I said, it is more or less like the problem with Vroom and Formula 1 by Domark are essentially the same game technically, but you know, they changed the tracks so the tracks are more playable, and they changed the handling of the cars so you can actually drive it, you know, without crashing into everything. There's nothing wrong with my, you know, driving skills on games. I've done loads of videos where I've like completed Lotus 2, and I basically played Domark's F1 for ages on my Amiga. So, you know, the problem is not me. The problem is with the game design. And like I said, there is no alternative. If Checkered Flag is shit, then it's shit. There's no other games like it. There's F1 Circus, but that's only for the Jaguar CD, because the Jaguar CD has slightly better hardware than the Jaguar cartridge-based console. There is extra stuff in there, a bit like the Mega CD added to the Mega Drive. So, and even that is only running at about 12 to 15 frames per second. So, it's nothing like playing Formula 1 on the Saturn. There was a Japanese Formula 1 game with, you know, tyres the same shape as a 50p piece. And of course the iconic very first PlayStation Formula 1 game. The one before F1 97, which was called Formula 1. And yeah, there you go. The Jaguar was still around when the PlayStation 1 was launching for 300 quid, so there's that. I honestly can't remember how much PlayStation 1 games were. They were cheaper than Mega Drive games, but I think they were 40 quid, and I think the Platinum games were 20 quid. But the Platinum games came much later after the Jaguar was dead and buried. So yeah, you know, I gave this game a fair old go, but you know, what can you say really? It's a cheap knockoff of Virtua Racing with horrible handling and shit design on the tracks. Here we go again, Jeff Minter with his spastic 64-bit game. So we'll be playing the classic Missile Command, which, even if this was a perfect conversion in every way, Missile Command on the arcade is controlled with a massive trackball. So, you know, you're never going to replicate that on your joypad, let alone a shit joypad of the Jaguar. So again, this is more like a freebie, and you know, if you paid a couple of quid for a public domain copy of the game on your Amiga or whatever on disc, that's fine, but it don't really help the situation for this £50 cartridge at all. I can't remember which of the Tramwheels it is who really love Jeff Minter's games, but I think it was Leonard Tramwell. He was very happy to have Jeff Minter writing games for the old Jaguar. I can't see the advantage. Now the thing is, Tempest might be the best update on the Jaguar to the original arcade game, but it's still a very early arcade game. Would you buy an Amiga 600 for like 250 quid to play like Stardust on it, even though it is the best update to Asteroid you'll ever find in the world? Run out of missiles there. That kind of explains the situation. Cartridge games were expensive, and the only reason you would finally give in to buy a cartridge system, unless you're thick as shit, like the people going gaga for the 8-bit NES in the late 80s, then you know, the games have to be phenomenal, and on the Jaguar they're not. You know, Tempest is a very old arcade game, and yeah, people do like it, but at the end of the day, you have to remember Yeah, my cat's looking at me a bit funny here. You're putting me off, Aslan. You have to remember these games are just too old. Now, of course, this game does support the Jaguar VR. I think that's what all the VR tackiness, spinning logos is going on about. Now, obviously, I can't play that, but you know, don't really matter. We can still check out Missile Command, the regular Jaguar version, not the classic, not the VR version. Because after buying a Jaguar, there's no way I'd be spending like 100 quid extra on some fucking add-on, because I'd be like, well, the people making the games are fucking losers pretty much. There's nothing I can really do about that. So I got 2 cities left, and like I said, this is absolutely fine if you're paying a couple of quid for a, you know, a PD game on the Amiga. There's nothing here that an Amiga couldn't do, unless some idiot like Jeff Minter was writing the code for the Amiga version, but he's not very good on anything after the Atari 800 really. In fact, it's pretty shit, if I'm honest. And like I said, with Missile Command, you need the massive white ceramic trackball there, porcelain, whatever it is. So, you know, it will never be the same game. It's not even a case of the fact that the Jaguar, you know, joypad is a bit shit. It's just a case of, you know, there is no trackball control. But oddly, there was a trackball controller for the CD-TV. So, potentially you could add that game on the CD-TV. Not that I would have bought it, but there you go. It wouldn't cost 50 quid either. In fact, I think the trackball was 80 quid. So yeah, this is the 3D update. And it doesn't work at all. It's like someone had a shit idea and then they made a game. And because Jeff Minter writes his own games and no one else gets a say in them, no one actually bothered to say to him, Jeff, this is a shit idea, mate. Why don't you cram it up your fucking smelly arse, you dumb cunt. So that's the funny thing. Jeff Minter used to have a dig at Tony Crowther all the time, as if his games were any fucking better. I can't see any 16 colour C64 games by Jeff Minter. But you know, what you don't know is Tony Crowther was part of the team that wrote Battlefield for the Xbox 360. Did you know that? No, you didn't fucking know that, did you? So, you know, what has Jeff Minter been writing since then? Fuck all worth talking about compared to Battlefield on the Xbox 360. Yes, I know Tony Crowther is probably part of a team, but that's not the point. The point is his name is associated with some very high-end games, right up to the Xbox 360 era. So, you know, he was working on that game for the GameCube, Unity. That got cancelled. And he did do that other game for the Xbox 360 after he got the contract to do the, you know, the visualization thing for the music, which is gone now because I had to update my Xbox 360. I think that gets wiped out once you get rid of the Blades interface. But yeah, basically you just can't see enough of what's going on. So it's like playing the original Missile Command arcade game from fucking 200 feet away with a, no, from 2mm away with a pair of binoculars. It's a fucking useless idea. Right, there's not much I can say about Doom. Doom is a PC game, and I did have Doom, and I had Doom as soon as it came out because my mate was a filthy pirate for the PC, and he loved the PC. He's one of these idiots who thought the PC was better than the Amiga in 1992. What a fucking prick. But anyway, so I know all about Doom, and I played Doom on my 486 as soon as it came out, and then Yeah, because I got my Pentium PC in the summer of '95, so I would have played it on that if it came out, but I think it came out before the summer of '95. Certainly for, you know, pirates. But this is running better than it would have run on my 486. But the problem is, by the time this come out on the Jaguar, things had moved on. People were playing other texture mapped games on the PC. There was a whole load of them actually. And this is really the only one, you know, that's got the pedigree of the DOS wankers approval that made it to the Jaguar. Saturn and PlayStation got a few of the later ones. What's the other one? Hexen, and there is another one. And basically, I couldn't give a shit because. But yeah, the problem is, Doom was never a multiplayer game unless you're actually working in some office and there's like 10 PCs on the network and 10 nerds set it up for you and you can all play. Yeah, the reality of Doom was like this. Sitting in your fucking house by yourself, playing it on your own, and from that point of view, I wouldn't spend 50 quid on this game. I think the PC version was 30 quid, so you're paying more. There's no music on it, which everyone mentions. And the reason there's no music on it is because the person writing the game, they basically did a cock up. And the 3DO is also a shit version because they use this source code to try and port it to the RISC CPU, the ARM CPU of the 3DO, so that was another cock up. But we're not doing the 3DO today. But yeah, I mean, it probably runs as fast as like a Pentium 90 or something. It's really hard to tell. But I played Doom and it is the same game, and I wouldn't have been bothered that there's no music. I don't care for the music in Doom. It's got the sound effects, that's the important thing. You can play your own rubbish thrash metal CDs while you're playing this on your Jaguar, that's no problem now. And if you like these kind of games, it is a well designed game. It's not the best game in the world. See, the people who say Doom is the best game of all time, they're the same pricks who say E.T. on your Atari is the worst game in the world ever. Yeah, well, neither of those statements are actually true, and it just shows you haven't got a fucking clue about retro gaming, if you can call Doom a retro game, which I suppose it is. Really hard to tell. I mean, Doom did come out on the PlayStation 1, and I think it came out on the Saturn, but I would have bought them anyway. It's not really for me. But if you did like Doom, and if you're playing it on your mate's, you know, PC, whatever spec it was, and you liked it, and you really liked it, and you couldn't give a shit about whether you got the music or not, and you had a Jaguar, then you would buy Doom. These are a highly specialised set of circumstances, though. So, which probably explains why the Jaguar is a commercial failure. They did the best they could with this game, apart from the music, like I said. It is very fast. You're never going to be, you know, losing health because the frame update is too laggy. This is one of the few games, recognisable games, that other systems got that the Jaguar also got. And graphically the coding is absolutely fine. So, yeah, if you liked Doom, and you know, it's a bit like you saw Street Fighter 2 in the arcade, and then you saw it on your mate's Super Nintendo, and you waited a year and you bought it on the Mega Drive, and it was better than the SNES version, almost as good as the arcade. if you're happy with that situation, then yeah, you'd be happy with Doom on the Jaguar, because it's basically the same situation. But for most of us, it's like, yeah, Doom, been there, done that, got bored with it, mate. It's an interesting one-player game, but I'm not going to be playing it every year for the rest of my life, like Lotus 2. And that's the reality.